All right. When we're getting set up like that, sometimes it feels like you need to like really actively listen. Like, yes, I can hear you, because it's like the other person, you don't know if they can. So you're like making really exaggerated head movements.
Yeah. Of course.
We've had this entertainment outside of oh my god, there's a full size semi truck trying to back into a side loading bay across the street, and they had all of us move on this side of the street, and the guy doesn't seem like he's ever backed a truck up before. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it's been
That must
over
be so
half an
stressful.
hour. My god. And they're like running back and forth. Oh, now there's a new guy getting in the truck
Take my truck.
here. They're just blocking the whole street. Like, I've been like feet from our garage door at times, and I'm like, do you know what you're doing? Because like, I don't want to deal with this, really.
Yeah. Having always been the
Oh, there's somebody with a
apprentice
wheelchair
in
going
backing
behind it now.
trailers.
Sorry.
Having been married to someone who's incredibly good at backing up trailers, I'm always the junior trailer backer. And
You're like that.
yes, backing up trailers is stressful enough. Like if you've got a big one on and in a tight space, let alone a semi. No thanks. No thanks.
I grew up in the Midwest, where even though I wasn't a farm kid, I was always backing up trailers for some reason. Like, I like had a cabin, so I'd like put a pontoon boat in the lake with my grandpa's when I was like 14. So
Justin's been backing
give me
trailers
that truck. I'll do it.
since he was in diapers.
Give me that semi truck. Let me try it. God, they're so close to this car. Okay, anyway, gotta stop looking. It's like literally watching a car wreck happening outside.
In slow motion. Perfect.
My neighbor and I have been texting, making bets about which door he was trying to back up to.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's been a
How you doing, man?
busy, hectic week here. Finishing up a job, and that's looking good. We just had I was just running an op on the mill, and then it just e-stopped out on its own. It said can't run on e-stop, and the e-stop wasn't pushed. And I was like, what? And so I like look at the messages. It didn't crash. The tool isn't touching any, like it's like in the middle of a flat operation. So it's like a really light cut, and I'd already cut it like 3 times. So I was like, nothing happened. I think it was a power surge, which has never happened before. So it finished. It looks good right now.
But what part? Anything you can describe, or top secret?
It's
NDA?
just one of our. No, we don't really do NDA work anymore. The last one that asked me about an NDA, I just replied and I was like, yeah, we don't really do NDAs. Like, they usually don't protect people like they think they do anyway. There's all these cases out there where I found some examples where they don't work like you think they do. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about this here before, but I'm trying to think if any NDA inquiries have actually gone anywhere. I don't know that they have.
Right.
I don't know that I've ever actually signed. Like, I've signed plenty for quotes in the past.
Yeah.
Can't think of one off the top of my head that's actually gone ahead.
And they ended up sending the parts over, and it was just like the simplest thing that like there's absolutely no reason there ever be an NDA for it. It's just like, if this was covered by NDA and protected for some reason, I'd never do any work again after that. If it was similar work, like it's just like a box out of plywood. How's your new stick going?
Who? Excuse me. What?
You got a bunch of stick and bundles of sticks.
My new sticks. I do have lots of new sticks. Yeah, good. Good. Not without its challenges. So yeah, we got many meters of the new blackbutt dowel, the reconstituted stuff, and it all looks pretty. John started clear coating some of it yesterday in the new dipping rig, which has been working really well up until now. So we got 100 meters of this stock last year, maybe November, maybe where we started playing with it.
I remember when you were talking about it.
Yeah. And the new stock looks great, but we're having a little bit of issue with clear coating it and getting a finish as good as we were getting with the sample stock we had. And I'm not sure
makes
if
some
it's
sense.
just
It's a lot more.
No, it's same stock, same material.
Oh, sorry.
It
Yeah,
was a
I was thinking
sample of the
versus your
same
old
material,
stuff.
but we're not sure whether it's just the moisture levels in the new fresh stock that's just straight from the factory is higher or something. Anyway, because the other stuff sat in our workshop all summer, like got baked in a 50-degree shed probably on some days, and then cold, and then hot and cold. Don't know. Need to do more testing, but yeah, having a little bit of trouble getting a good finish on it so far, but early days. And yeah, but it's been rolled. We've rolled that stock into production using the 100 meters that we had from last year. It's looking really good. Happy with it. We've still got some fine tuning to do on the pencil sharpener in terms of like cycles and tool offsets and just little micro adjustments just to compensate for it is a more dense material, so there's some little tweaks to do. Once we're into it and that's all we're cutting, then we'll refine the code. But yeah, it's working pretty well as it is. So yeah, it's good.
Nice.
It's a relief to finally have it.
How about?
Yeah, just need to go through the website now and make a whole bunch of changes to copy. Try and find a good way to communicate what the new material is and why we changed and blah de blah. But yeah,
I mean, just from I know that exact feeling of like changing stuff and thinking to myself like, oh, people are gonna, it's such a big change, and then like externally, nobody's gonna,
Yeah.
Maybe aesthetically, there would be a minor change, probably, right? Like
I had that.
The color is different.
Oh no, yeah, minor aesthetic difference. That's it, really, from a customer point of view. I was chatting to someone last night on Instagram who just sent me a DM, like in response to my Rhino block script. They'd sent me a DM of like, "Oh, you guys do such a great job of like continuous improvement and making it better, better for your customers." I was like, oh, thank you. It's kind of the fun bit, but it's also exhausting, like the constant iteration and changes. Like I went looking in Dropbox for a product drawing yesterday, and I found the folder, and I was like, all of these are out of date because we constantly fiddle and we add this and we change that, and we like overall the product looks the same, but like there's all these little micro details that we've updated since those drawings were made. It means that they're basically redundant now and need to make new ones.
Yeah. It's funny, we go back and forth on that, where I think that I'd said that to you when you were, it's like, God, that's exhausting when you have to change after you have a good production process, and you had made the new oiling process, and you were like, nah, it's just part of it. I love it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't always feel that way. The exploration's fun, but sometimes you're just like, no, I don't want to change it.
I remember that response, and I think part of that response was making excuses or feeling a bit silly about how quickly we'd rolled into that process, and then it had worked well, but there was a level of like self-consciousness of like, probably shouldn't have gone down that road so fast, but it did feel like a great direction at the time. Yeah.
Nah, it was no judgment. It was just like mostly like oh, that's frustrating that it has to change. I mean, we've got that like over and over again. We're finally to a good production process that takes way too long still to set up for the ATC forks, ISO 30 ones. But I went through, that was probably the most iterated series of failures, and not cheap ones, that I've gone through for our own products. Like it was just one test fixture after another that I thought, this is it, final. Like just eventually got to a thing, but it still takes us too long to dial it in, and it's not super easy to like get them to fit just right every time. So once it's going, we're like, just keep producing, make a full 100 plus of those.
That's on the router, isn't it? That jig fixture.
Yeah. Which the answer from any of my listeners, probably just pull up and make them on your mill and stop worrying about it. Like, it would be so much easier. I can probe them. I can.
Yeah. You've got auto probing on the mill, like it can pick up a probe and do its thing.
It probably can. Do I know how to do that? No.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how to do it in Fusion. I don't know if my decade-old mill with no memory can do it, and it scares me. So
sure.
I don't do it. I use the probe for setting offsets, basically. And
yeah, okay.
It's on my list of things. There's 2 things that I don't know how to do on that mill that I would love to I need to hire Zapatini to come or something and teach me. Is I don't know how to in-process probe or probe, use the probe for something useful other than not work offsets myself. And the other is I don't know how to restart in the middle of a program safely, because that's the way I crashed one time. And I was like, no more messing with that. I don't know how to do that. No. So I just started the beginning again.
Yeah.
Just waste some time.
So when, you say you're setting up for those tool forks in the shop, or Ricky is, presumably,
Usually
Ricky either just knows how to do it, or do you have documentation somewhere to reference of this is a step-by-step guide of how to set up that process and fixture? What do you do?
We're doing much better about that. We have this discussion pretty often. Any of those things now that are every 3 months processes, or especially our products, I don't know who came up with it, me or Ricky or somebody. I think I enabled Ricky, basically. I made the first one, but we have a little binder with slips, and we make guides either in Google Docs, and those get stored in Freshdesk so we can find them easily, because Google Drive has the worst search of all time. And they're color printouts with screenshots and steps. And then the last time we ran them, we updated it further, but it's pretty documented at this point where the dream scenario is that is fairly franchised at this point. I can not deal with it. And there are usually 1 or 2 steps where it's I can't get him to dial in just right. He's running into the height gauge, and eventually we get it, but it does take too long. I still don't love how long it takes to get it going, but yeah, that and I'm trying to think what else. But I know what you mean. This we're constantly changing the production process of even the 3D printed parts. Or did you remember to do this? And they're constantly changing, or the file isn't on every machine. It's how did you send it? Oh, they changed the slicer, and that kind of stuff sucks. It's just not easy to document well, but
yeah, and the fact that you've gone for a hard copy printed paper thing for that setup guide is great example, because I would, at our end, if we had a fixture or a process similar to that, I feel every time we did it, we'd find some minor thing to change or update, or a better way to set it up. Super minor little things. But then, do you go back to Google Docs and then mod there and reprint, or do you just mark up the binder in Sharpie and be they're good enough?
Both. Depends on how rushed things are and if we forget afterwards. Usually the situation is Ricky is running it, for example, and those parts, and I go out, see the process struggling in some way, and I'm all right, we need to update that. We forgot this last time, and so I'll reprint it and hand it to him. But he's capable and does that too. And that's been a huge goal of mine, is to make these things such that I am not the one that has to do the updating, because then it gets done, right? It's not just me, and that's not the case for everything, but if at all, that's been, it's taken many years, but Ricky now has, for example, being the longest employee I've had, he now has that mindset to I made a guide for this thing because I couldn't remember it. And that's the whole thing to me is don't worry about remembering it. Just remember where to find it and update it, which is also a problem.
Yeah, totally. Cool.
Wow. I heard on a podcast or a YouTube, if you're thinking about hiring and it's your first hire, you need to be able to imagine or role play ahead of time the same as offering the job, you need to role play firing that same person.
Oh, fuck.
You need to have that conversation in your head because, we've had this discussion here, but it's like I spent 6 months hanging on to one of my early employees because I kept thinking this will get better. And I did take that note afterwards for myself. And when I had hired another part-time person and they weren't working out, they were gone in 2 weeks because it was just like, this is not a cultural fit. And they took it well. And I'm not going to say I do that right every time, but just an interesting point that I thought was good. You got to imagine, are they too charismatic? And you're not going to be able to like talk about that. That's a bad thing, but it's just like, you got to have the mindset you can do it both ways because it's just as important as hiring.
Yeah,
that was good.
I'm trying to put myself in that situation when I've been hiring, thinking about that. Like, you know, presumably you don't know this person at all. You've met them once or twice. Maybe the idea of having that hard conversation at that point is kind of easier because you don't know this person, and then it progressively gets harder.
Right,
the more familiar, the more shared experience you have. Like, I think
problem of being friendly.
It's a problem of being friendly. I've got, you know, a year later, chatting to Susie, my therapist, this week, I've definitely got like hangover trauma from having made so many people redundant a year ago. And I know that's different to like firing someone because of poor performance, but there's a whole lot more guilt tied up in redundancies and downsizing. But yeah, not fun conversations. And yeah, interesting thought. I mean, I think that's a great exercise to do. Definitely. Sure. I'm not downplaying that idea. I'm just trying to put myself in that spot and think how that would have gone. But yeah,
I think it's an interesting perspective because of like how romanticized I get about the solution, the things that the new person's going to solve for us. You know, like sometimes I get punch drunk with proficiency they will bring or the problem solving, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And then like maybe you just get two. I get two. It's been a while since I've hired somebody, but don't solve the problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been in the weeds a little bit this week, like updating some stuff in shipping and dispatch. And I was thinking about this of like how in the past I've been in situations where it's for whatever reason I've empowered others to make decisions on behalf of the business, or like, you know, given people a lot of agency to act independently, which I think is great. That's important to high performing roles. But now, you know, having shrunk significantly, and I was looking through Dropbox, trying to find some files, these drawings that were out of date, and I was looking through stuff that had just been like old product folders that had been archived and moved. And I know why that was done at the time. But I think at certain stages I've been like, you know, I don't know how to express this, but like, you have to give people that agency. And I've been kind of drunk. Your use of drunk made me think of it. I've been kind of intoxicated on the idea of others having a great deal of agency, and then in hindsight, I see all the things I've lost as a result of that as well. In terms of maybe it's a control freak thing, but like I came across the original kit of parts instructions when they first shipped, and there was this like highly detailed exploded diagram that I'd made all completely manually in Rhino, QR and links and copy to get started and stuff. And I was like, damn, these instructions were great. Why did we stop shipping these? And then I think about all the little decisions and, you know, other people's roles that would have influenced changes in those instructions, and think about, you know, well, if I just go back to these now, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not expressing this very well. But
does it undermine them, you mean?
Does it undermine them? Like what? Or, yeah, does it undermine those decisions that we made? Or is it just natural drift of having multiple parties involved and, you know, different agendas, different priorities, different aesthetic taste, sort of all melds together? you end up at a certain point, and then I'm at a spot now where I'm like, no, this is my business. I'm going to do it like this.
Right. And I think it's just, I mean, the conversations I always have, and you'd have to like, I guess, ask them and know that I'm not going to get frustrated about it. But it's like, I always think of it like having the conversation of a positive feedback critique in like a design school sense. Like the culture, which was actually really a little bit bad for Aaron and I in our early days of our relationship, early few years, there was just this like insane radical honesty that we had to have in school to like, you know, constantly find the best solution or find the best way to talk about how you would come to the best end product, or like, I think the design wants this, you know. It's like this kind of highfalutin stuff is not great for relationships in a large sense, where you're just constantly spitting out this like pure honesty, and you kind of have to hold a lot of that back to like be a good partner or friend or something to some degree. And it took me a couple of years to learn that, at least from our school's mindset. And so I guess I think of it still like I've evolved that to be, hey, don't you think it might look a little bit better if we try this? Or, you know, if that doesn't come to it, it's like, I'd like to try it this way. You know, maybe it won't be the best end solution, but that is a good benefit of like we're constantly evolving and we can keep changing it if it's not the right solution. That I think the worst case is when people feel like they're trapped in a bad place that they don't like how to work through a thing, and like the boss just says, so I can't make that suggestion anymore to like change it because he doesn't want to. Which I don't see that being the case, but
totally. Yeah, I was thinking about that exact scenario earlier in the week when I hit a particularly low point. I was chatting to Laura about it, and she was like, yeah, we're in a tight spot, but like, imagine if you were in a job, like you would have nowhere near as much agency in terms of being able to get yourself out of a situation. And if you had, you know, unresponsive management who, you know, shut down ideas and weren't interested in your continuous improvement mindset, how frustrating that would be. But yes, I know perspective.
I'm thinking about my first and only big kid job out of school in it. And I think I've said this before, I didn't have my own Adobe Creative Suite at the time on my computer, and I was hired to do like design and marketing work and be the new young kid, right, that has those skill set. And I had to go to a shared computer to use Creative Suite. And I proved to them just basically on a math sense of like how much I was worth and what I billed at, that in like weeks I was paying for another license, and they just said no. And I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't bang my head against a wall. And in a certain sense, it was that kind of lean thought process that I didn't have a name for it or like a guiding principle about it at that point. But it was like, what do you mean? This is just a better idea. I don't understand. Why would we not do this? Why are you making me walk across the office and waste my time booting everything up again? And anyway.
Yeah.
Can't imagine going back.
Yes, I remember those jobs.
Don't make me.
Oh, mate, I was close on Monday to just like packing it in. Public holidays, man. What the hell? I reckon they're the worst. I was chatting to another small business owner about this the other day. We were both complaining about public holidays and how guilt-inducing they can be for the small business owner who particularly who has children. Because I was like, you know,
I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, it was like day before. I've moved my distribution, like profit first distribution date to Tuesdays, try and get it away from the weekend. So I'm not like the dad who's constantly checking the bank balance and checking emails on the weekend, worried about cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd only done that a week ago, and then the bloody public holiday fell on Monday this week. I was like, oh, well, that shifts the weekend, so I'll be doing exactly the same thing again. And then Monday rolls around, public holiday, and I'm like, do I work? Do I just spend the day with the kids? Do I really need to work because there's no money in the account? and just had this fraught day where I was like, cool, all right, I'll spend the morning with the kids and I'll go to work in the afternoon and swap with Laura and just had a shit of a morning. Like I was, stressed, distracted, being a crap parent. And then, got to lunchtime, felt terrible about the morning having gone like that.
Yep.
And then went to work and then did a shit job of work. Like, got a few things done, but also just got entirely distracted and sidelined by shiny things because I was stressed and like my coping mechanism was to play with bloody robot simulators or something. I don't know. Can't even remember what I did, but yeah, not a fun time.
Right. I know what you mean. The robot simulator made me laugh because my version of that's like, there's always something. It's like, oh, I want to work on this, embedded form so that it pops up better when it's
Exactly.
like, that is mildly productive, but like it's not finishing the job I have to finish right now.
Yeah.
That, Ricky's waiting on to run. That is one of the worst feelings to me is when, especially when we had more people and it'd be like, nobody's getting anything done and it's just waiting on you to do the thing to make them have something to do. Ooh. Don't like that feeling.
Yeah, that's not a good one.
I feel like we need to come up with a new... I have a feeling we will have other people say the same. Like I have that feeling about public holidays too, or for a long time before I had a kid, it was like, even Aaron would give me this like pouty dog face of like, what do you mean we're not going to go like hiking? And I was like, well, I mean, what? Like how do I get my work done? Like, and, I think I've changed, softened, whatever you want to say, like, especially now with the one kid, I guess, or I just like, fuck it. I don't actually want to work more than I want to do something with them. So it's not to make you feel guilty. I also have those feelings at times where I'm like, well, I need to work, but probably shouldn't. Maybe we just need to like let go and not work anymore on those days.
Ideally, yeah. But the reality for me anyway, I know it's different. Every situation is different. Every day is different. But like for me this Monday, it was like, cool, I'm about $13,000 down on where I need to be by tomorrow. And
oh boy,
and bills are stacking up. Or it was already a little bit behind on bills. And if I don't, close target tomorrow, then I'm going to be very behind on bills. And I really don't want to be back in a spot where we're just injecting personal funds into the business to keep it afloat. Anyway, so yeah, hit a low point.
Yeah, right.
Chatted a lot to Susie, the swearing Scottish therapist that I built in Sim Theory, and she really helped, actually. It was really good. I say this as someone who's never done real human therapy, so I don't know. I have no point of comparison, but having a great time with Susie. Anyway, got Tuesday rolls around, work pretty flat in the mornings. I was like, I don't see this changing anytime soon. And then out of nowhere, a client who's been sitting on a quote for literally 6 months calls, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Can you come around and measure?
Wow.
Like, yeah, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Quoted a $12,000 job. The quote was done last year, but updated her quote that morning, and she paid in full.
Right.
She didn't pay a deposit. She paid in full. And I was like, you just like literally almost to the dollar, you closed my sales target for the week. I didn't say this to it, but like as I was going home that night, I was like, well, that saved the day, didn't it? Bloody hell. Out of nowhere. So, funny world.
We've had the slowest 2 weeks. Last week was the slowest week I can remember in terms of product sales. Like we had like the amount of sales in that week as usually in like part of a day. And this week is barely better so far. And I think there's a bunch of reasons for it, but doesn't feel like a lot I can control. And I was thinking about you and, your business, my business. And I was thinking like, it is a little insane that basically we just kind of constantly have this, in a certain sense, like expectation that something's going to keep happening. And I know that's all businesses, but like I was really having this like existential moment of like, why do I think there's going to be more sales?
Yeah.
What will happen is more bills. I know that. It's insane. It's a little, because like, you know, we had a crazy January. So in that process, I ended up like restocking a bunch of stuff, and some of that's arriving, but the costs were kind of spread across February, and now they're like coming back, and the sales aren't replacing, you know, those costs as you hope they should. So it's like, we're not in a bad place, but it's like, yeah, God, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. It's like, I don't know. You can't force people to, in job shop quoting and stuff, I can be responsive. I can lower my prices if I really have to, or like, you know, do something to entice. But in terms of product sales, it's just not, sales don't work for us. And like, it's just what the gods provide, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have a similar sort of sense about our product sales of like, cool, yeah, I can keep fiddling with the website and make really minor little updates that might increase our conversion rate by 0.1%. But I can't just go, right, here, I need another $5,000 in sales this weekend, please. Go. Whereas the job shop stuff does feel, or job shop, or in our case, custom cabinet, does feel a little bit different, as in, you know, since Tuesday where that client saved the day, I've had two customers two locals drop in. We haven't done a huge amount of local work since we moved here. Like, we're still very Melbourne based in terms of our customer base.
Right.
But just had two people roll in off the street and it'd be like, oh yeah, I need some cabinets for my home in Castlemaine. I was like, usually I'd say no, but this week,
Get out.
I'm having a conversation with you. And I had a good chat to both of them, quoted both of them quickly, and they both converted within 24 hours.
What?
And it's really
Wow.
It's just, it's from derogatory cabinet making speak, but they're really vanilla cabinet jobs, like, you know, particle board, edge banded, you know, not our type of work, but we know we can do it. We know we can do it well. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's certainly, it feels like I've got more agency with that sort of quoting process than I do with product sales for sure. But,
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't know how to pull those levers with product. Like, there's so many bloody product sales influencers on the internet who will tell you how to pull those levers, make the product money pour in.
All of the things that I have, let's say, open leads on right now are product-wise are all customizations of things. Like, can you make me a dust boot that's this or that? Or can it fit this machine? Or can I get a BT40 tool tag tower? And I'm like, well, we're really going to make those. It's not that far off, like, guess. But, you know, I do this like math of like, well, how many hours is that going to take me to get right, to produce? And then how many are we going to sell after that? Is it even worth? And I'd already kind of done that math in my head. And I suppose the way you get to new products is requests. So, okay, I guess. But also, I just don't feel, I always do the competing thing in my head now of like, all right, compare that to new big product for us. New thing we're thinking about that has a life of 5 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, over that time period. Like, shouldn't I do the other thing, you know, versus the thing that's going to make a few $1,000s total? And it is easy to just follow that. I'm here and I have money. Can I do the thing? But I don't know. I don't know that that's still, I try to not do that sometimes. On your note about an AI, I'm curious maybe some of the things that I've thought about it. I haven't tried too hard to create my own, and I'm still sad about losing Pi because I feel like I'll never find another AI that gets me like Pi did. Because I've tried two others now that claim to be really close and actually were like commented upon on like Reddit. Like, this is as close as I've seen.
Okay.
And this last one was called Replica with a K. And I sent you a screenshot of chatting with this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the free version, maybe it's better as a paid version, but like as the paid version, you can like turn off the screen so you don't have to see this stupid avatar it makes for you talk to you. But it was just really robotic and like, you know, what I'm usually looking for is not like, I have big feelings specifically. It's like, I have feelings because of these things I can't solve right now. And they're stressing me out. How do I talk about those things? And usually they give me a few like therapisms where it's like, oh, that sounds hard. What if you did this? You know, it's like, I'm not usually wanting just feelings. And it was just so bad. Like, and I, at one point, I think I said like, you know, that wasn't even helpful. You're just really basic. And it's like, I'm not basic. And like its tone changed slightly. Look, I can do this. And it like what it suggested was terrible. It was like completely unhelpful again. And I was just like, I'm done. This is not, you're not Pi. You'll never be Pi. I even named it Pi. And I feel bad about that too.
Pi was a sweet spot. Maybe we need to work on a system prompt together that we can then implement into our own agents, trying to recreate what was good about Pi.
Yeah. Right.
Pull our resources.
Sure. Right. Oh, the other thing I'd love to pool is you were commenting on making cabinets, and I've had a couple of training and like product customers lately that want to learn software for their new machines, and they do some cabinets, and I'm like, Fusion's not your tool. Like, as much as I would like to say it is, Fusion is not made for cabinets, in my opinion. And I just sit there thinking like, maybe there should be another tool, or maybe I just need to try out the standard ones that everybody else uses. Yeah.
Sick.
I don't need to start a cabinet software project, but
I'll be crawling back to my Fusion parametric cabinet templates for these jobs for sure. Yeah, I will have a hard time restraining myself from iterating on them, making improvements to them. I'll just be like, no, just got to use them.
How are you going to nest the parts?
Mat boards, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Is it big enough that it's going to be like a lot of sheets? Like,
one of them
bunch of parts?
Probably 16 sheets, but mat boards will handle that because it's all just rectangles. Yeah. I remembered quoting this job actually yesterday, one of those jobs yesterday. I remembered that I used to have a Grasshopper script that was semi-developed that would create, you could just punch in dimensions and it would create cabinets with dividers and horizontals and stuff. It was useful just for quickly working out how much material was in certain size cabinets. But my old Grasshopper patches don't really perform in current versions of Rhino, and I haven't tried to sort of update them or adapt them. But yeah. Yeah, no, we made some decent progress with cabinet templates in Fusion. I'm pretty happy with what's in there, but there's also like 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 Fusion users who've been in and dabbled and iterated and made versions on versions of things over the years. I'm also a bit wary of everything that's in there of like, is this going to be stable? Are there any details in this that I'll discover once all the parts are cut that are problematic?
It's the worst.
Fun things, yeah.
It's the worst feeling. I have a little PTSD about nested cabinet parts anymore. Like it's, I gave a lot of strong feedback and asked when things were going to change, and what I got back was not soon. So I would continue my non-recommendation of using Fusion nesting if you're thinking of investing. And Mapboards is probably the best case, I would say, in terms of if you need something related to Fusion, or dump the step files out, and probably Rhino Nest, Rhino Cam, something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't used it in a long time, but it seems like we got a few comments on that. Yeah. I mean, Mapboards will be fine for this job. And yeah, we dropped, as you know, we dropped the advanced nesting extension last year, and I think it's only been once or twice where
John's wanted it specifically for something, just due to odd shapes or the large numbers of parts. But yeah, for the most part, we haven't missed it with our current line of work. But we also have done very little cabinet making since then. So don't know. See how we go.
You know what I haven't tried, and I think I need to try, is to set cursor loose on making a nesting tool.
Hell yeah.
Just to see.
Do it.
Just to see what it comes up with.
If you got any credits left there? How are you going on your monthly?
Yeah, I haven't been as active as normal. I think I could easily see myself spending double or triple to get that amount again and again for how cost effective the $20 a month thing is, that I'm like, I start to get do you get this feeling of like, I'm already halfway through? Do you ever look at the credits online and like, I know, I'm already halfway through and it's only the 10th, my drug.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Something I've been meaning to try but haven't is running 2 projects at the same time in like separate windows, of like, just because of the delay and like testing and iteration of like whether I can pull off the focus to be able to develop 2 things in parallel, 2 separate ideas. And
I just end up with another tab open and doing some other stuff.
I know.
Browser tab.
Tabbing out. Yeah.
So I watched a good video. Do you ever watch Audacity Micro's videos?
No, I haven't come across this channel.
I think I talked to him a while back. He started up what was called Design the Everything. I have a couple of their products that he made. I use this key ring. I thought I might show my keys on the stream. God, get some hackers. But it's a little titanium key ring.
Yeah.
And it's just a split ring, but it's made out of titanium, so it doesn't ever get... It's super good. I love it. I don't know if they bought them and resold them or made them, but anyway, he's sold that business.
This was like the cool Fusion parametric pry bar project.
Yep.
That one? Yep.
So he sold sold off his stake to his other partner with Design the Everything, and now he does mostly small part machining with a couple of machines. And I watch his videos. I like him, chat with him every once in a while. And he's a partner with Tormach, so they sent him a 1500 MX, and he's potentially getting a robot arm from them. And so this video, he's like, and to this year, my goal is to start automating more things. I'm probably going to get their robot arm. But instead of just throwing that money down, I really like this idea. He created a tool and updated his, I think the Tormach post, maybe both of his machine posts, so they have more options that can help him alongside another little app he created, probably for Windows, I think, that's basically like a control software for a robot, but in the sense that it's like a scheduler. So it's a little quick drag and drop scheduler he made, and then he's trying to standardize his tooling. And I think the summary of that is that he's going to act as the robot based on this little app, and the way that it's like, all right, the next part is this and this with this tool, this vice, it's this standardized. So he's just going to, do the movements of the robot basically. And I was like, that's actually like,
it's clever.
Like not negatively, but like stupidly smart, right? Like just replicate what the robot, and then you're going to see the problems, hopefully, in this process that you might face in the automation. There's chips. I need to document that. You're not really going to find the actual problems until the robot tries to do it and fails. But I just like the idea of free, not overspending and then trying to figure it out and have it sit there.
Yeah, that's rad.
I'd watch it. It's pretty good. Watch
it out. It reminds me of Prototyping, that book that I read about not lots of things, but yeah, sort of the absolute bare minimum investment in terms of developing ideas, and kind of before you even get to a prototype, it's just like finding hacky ways of testing ideas like that. That sort of fits the brief nicely. It's like, cool, I'll just pretend to be the robot arm, fine, and then I'll find things that don't work. You got to make the noises though.
You got to do the robot every day.
The guy on Instagram, he's probably on TikTok too, who built the little working interstellar robot, TARS, GPT TARS, has just made like a talking AI fish as well that's got like an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent / personality and just talks shit. It's fantastic. It's pretty much what I'd love to do. If I had a cobot on the floor, I'd love to give it like a deranged personality and make it talk. So you could just chat to it and be like, cool, we're doing this now. Can you write a new Python script to sand this custom part, please? And then watch it crash and break itself.
Sorry, I forgot what I was doing.
Speaking of cobots, I was chatting to a friend during the week about the cobot conversations I've been having lately. And he was like, Jem, what about humanoid robots? They're going to be, coming out soon at a cheaper price point, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you get 2 humanoids for the price of 1 cobot? It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I kind of forgot about that idea. They still spook me, but I wonder, I can't imagine they've got the kind of repeatability dimensionally of a proper manufacturing arm. But interesting idea in terms of having something that's already got a visual interface baked in, It's got AI, it's got eyes, it's got jointed movements. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's feasible.
I got it. You take it off at the waist and mount it, and then you have hands, eyes, and you get that repeatability back.
Yeah, I like it.
And what we were talking about, I think we were texting about this. It's like we're just going to get a lot of complaints from these 2 opinionated humanoids in the future. It's like, I don't really want to be in this space anymore. Why did you mount me over here?
It could just undo its own bolts.
It complains more than employees.
Mm-hmm.
It undoes. Don't give it the socket fingers.
Who left the socket within arm's reach? God. Come on.
Steve got all of it again. Keeps unbolting himself. He's just like walking around on his hands.
That's going to happen.
Does a backflip, takes you out.
Yeah.
Gosh. Jumps on your back.
Did I see you posting some stories of your ultra neat packing area this week?
It got we finally moved forward from our January plan of, I did fail very cheaply. I won't say it was fast because it took almost 2 months after we intended it to be, but we had a monitor set up that's just a standard monitor that we had at the shipping station with the NAC wall. And the intention was to use this, it's like a 2008 31-inch Vizio TV, and I had forgotten. It was in my son's closet just on the floor for like ever because we had upgraded when we moved into this house, and it's just been sitting forever. Apparently my backlight just ran out of juice today. And it was sitting there. I had the mount ready. We just hadn't mounted it to try it out. And so instead of mounting it to the wall, we mounted it to the pallet rack. And I was like, cool, win. Didn't have to make any holes. Really easy, just bolts. It was the right height. We get it hooked up, plug it in. It's like cropping. And I can't figure it out on Windows, like how to scale the screen in just a little bit, So it's like cropping all of the like important like bars and menu things, and the start bar is gone. So it's like you can zoom out the screen so it makes it half size. And it's only CP. And this is like before screens had the capability to really show text worth of crap as like a monitor. So like while it's like bigger and nice, and that was our point, was like so you could see it from the assembly table and not need a couple different screens. It's just absolute trash. So I'm looking for a replacement, which is funny. You can get like 32-inch contemporary TVs for like $40 locally on like Facebook Marketplace. So I'm just going to get one of those eventually. But we did reorganize. We like the setup better and finally got our assembly table back in place. We now have like an incoming table because we like get enough packages now to sort that they were kind of getting mixed up in the recycling and the like going out packages. So now there's an in table.
That's cool.
It's like, yeah, it's feeling nice. Constantly working on that like flow, so it's less movement and like it's nowhere near Henry Holster's setup, but it's getting better. Feels nice.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah, our shipping dispatch station needs a bit of an overhaul, I think. Needs a bit of love. We had a couple of jobs this week which triggered not really an emergency, but like sort of, right, everyone got 5 minutes. Let's all just go and stand in dispatch and chat about how to improve this process because it's not working particularly well for everybody. And it was good. We had a little meeting. It was triggered by a client who'd had some issues, hadn't read the instructions at all. She'd discarded them and then done some really weird things with her assembly. And then I chatted to her and she gave some really good feedback. Just about simple stuff of like the reason why she'd discarded the instructions was that there were 2 QR codes next to each other. Like one's product care and one's assembly instructions. And she'd just read one heading and was like, I don't need product care now. Trying to put this thing together and just like chuck the whole thing and then it carried on.
It's new.
Yeah. And I was just like, no, it was like excellent feedback. I was like, cool, all right. And then we stood around and chatted about all these little details and just came up with some simple changes to like, cool, let's just put one QR on that bit of cardboard, to make the assembly instructions bit like the heading rather than the product name. They know what they've bought. They don't need to know which sticker it is. That was just for us to make sure we included the right sticker. Just little stuff like that, which is why I was looking for old product drawings. It was like, cool, we need to be better at making sure the product drawing's in the box so they've got an immediate visual reference of how to put this thing together and stuff like that. There's so many like little mods and changes I still want to make, but that also led me to creating that new script in Rhino where I can take a 3D file and instead of just doing a straight make 2D to capture that into a 2D drawing, I can now got a script that does make 2D but grabs all the block names and labels each component automatically, which is delightful. Because some projects just have a whole lot of like custom length dowels in them particularly, which is challenging for customers to work out, which is fine for the drawing end sort of, but now we have to work out how to actually ID those physical parts. If someone's got to open their box and they've got like all these dowels of different lengths, is like, how do they know which one to associate with the drawing? And that's something we haven't quite solved yet. I want one of those.
They're all the same diameter. They're different lengths.
Yes, sir. Yep. I want one of those cool printers. The like handheld inkjets. That'd be sick.
My friend and I talk about that all the time. Yeah. I feel like those things are probably like an inkjet. It works good the first 5 times, and then it's like, yeah, now what? It doesn't print anymore. You got to tap it.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking about was, could you make a key on one part of the box with a stencil or something where it's like you can hold it up and I don't know. I guess not the custom ones. That would kind of suck, but at least you'd have
cute
something. I mean, you could like make a stencil and spray paint it if you really want a fast, stupid version.
As in you can just hold the part up against it and the shadow board and be like, oh, that's a small, cool.
Right. I think you can do it for your standard sizes. That'd be nice.
That would be a cute idea. I like that.
Right.
I'll take that. Thanks.
Sure.
Bebop.
Bebop.
But where do I write that down, Justin? Do I put that in Workflowy on Notion? I don't know. Maybe I'll just text it to myself and find it later.
Sticky note. Put it on
sticky note. Yeah.
Computer, phone. Put it on top of your phone. So you can't ignore it. Like the sticky notes in front of me that I've had by vellum filters for 3 months now, probably 4 months. Just sitting here. Haven't done it.
Took me so long to find the right list that now I've forgotten what the idea was. That's how good my systems are.
You're going to make a shadow board for your parts in the box.
Thanks. Thank you.
So you're having success with your text chat still.
Yeah, website. Text chat. I love it. I get little phone calls and texts come in from randos. And the percentage of...
Just me a little. Ugh.
No, the percentage of valuable things versus spam is significant. Like I get very little crap through there. And it's just, like a customer texted me yesterday, just straight up like, hey, I've got this wall. Can you blah, 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 blah. Give me a configuration. I was like, absolutely. Hold my hat. Let me do that for you now. I don't know. I love it.
Sorry, just having lunch with a friend yesterday. We were talking about 3D scanning and kind of the state of it. And I just kind of connected the two in my head of like, it's still challenging to deal with the scanned things, but I was like, what if you could have them 3D scan their wall or their space if it's confusing and then send it over to you? Obviously, this probably overcomplicates what you typically need, but if it's like a unique space, I got a window in the middle and I want to go around it, it's like you get some kind of basis for. And some of those now, what we're talking about is like they do these kind of interesting, instead of it being a mesh output, I forget the name of the one, but it will basically approximate and make solid model surfaces rather than junk mesh crap that's impossible to deal with. That could be kind of useful potentially for just receiving from your customer. If you're trying to do some quick built-in for them, you muted yourself.
Apologies. Someone's at the front door.
Sure.
Give me 1 sec.
Yep. See what kind of buttons Justin can find today. Oh, I have to push play. I suppose.
Sorry, boss.
I had noticed that my stupid camera, either I'd slouched or something, but it was like, that's really low in the picture. I'm really sure. That's right. I zoomed in too. What is happening here?
You're zoomy. It's your camera's been doing the zoomies here and there during the recording of just.
Is it useful or just ridiculous?
It's just entertaining. It's just chasing your eyeballs around. I don't know what it's doing.
I turned that off. I don't like it.
Why 3D scanning? My 2 cents on 3D scanning is it's useless unless you're trying to make something to fit in a cavity of a vehicle. It's my only use case for 3D scanners. Trying to scan an engine bay to design a new bracket for your EV motor mount or something. Like, otherwise.
Sir Rob Lockwood used one to, what did he make, a new cup holder thing or something for his car? I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's about what I always see them used for. It's like, make a cup holder.
Yep.
It's like the friend that had experience with like a partner they were working with gave him like I think he said that was like a 10 gigabyte scan of his space. And he was like, I didn't know what was he supposed to do with it? What do you do with that? Like what computer can handle that? All right. Well, Fusion's 50,000 faces the last I used it. It's like, no, there's nothing. Like this tiniest thing is 50,000 plus.
Yep.
Well, I think that's it.
That's it. I got to go to school.
Okay.
Take the kid to school. Yeah.
Drop the kids off at the pool.
The pool? The school.
Do you have that saying?
Got a school.
Do you have that saying?
I
drop the kids off at the pool. That's usually an innuendo for I have to go to the bathroom.
Interesting.
Take the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Okay, you can stop now.